Welcome one and all. Unfasten your seatbelts. The mothership has landed. It's time for Down to Earth. With your host, boyDonavin.
Hello, little earthworms. I'm so happy that you're joining me in the grass today.
I'm boyDonavin, and this is Down to Earth.
The best way I can describe this show is as a video essay series. Each episode, I'll pick a topic and collage together a bunch of art, music, animation, and whatever else I feel like that goes with that topic. I'm really interested in making this a space for dialogue. So if you have any art that you make which relates to what we're talking about,
feel free to send me your work either on Twitter or Instagram at boyDonavin.
Today's episode is about home. If it's all right with you, I have a story I'd like to share. It's a nursery rhyme that you might have heard before, actually.
This is the house that Jack built. This is the cheese that lay in the house that Jack built. This is the rat that ate the cheese that lay in the house that Jack built. This is the cat that killed the rat that ate the cheese that lay in the house that Jack built. This is the dog that worried the cat that killed the rat that ate the cheese that lay in the house that Jack built. This is the cow with the crumpled horn that tossed the dog that worried the cat, that killed the rat that ate the cheese that lay in the house that Jack built. This is the maiden, all forlorn, that milked the cow with the crumpled horn, that tossed the dog that worried the cat, that killed the rat that ate the cheese that lay in the house that Jack built. This is the man all tattered and torn, that kissed the maiden all forlorn, that milked the cow with the crumpled horn, that tossed the dog that worried the cat, that killed the rat that ate the cheese that lay in the house that Jack built. This is the judge all shaven and shorn, that married the man all tattered and torn, that kissed the maiden all forlorn, that milked the cow with the crumpled horn, that tossed the dog that worried the cat, that killed the rat that ate the cheese that lay in the house that Jack built. This is the rooster that crowed in the morn, that woke the judge all shaven and shorn, that married the man all tattered and torn, that kissed the maiden all forlorn, that milked the cow with the crumpled horn, that tossed the dog that worried the cat, that killed the rat that ate the cheese that lay in the house that Jack built. This is the farmer sowing his corn, that kept the rooster that crowed in the morn, that woke the judge all shaven and shorn, that married the man all tattered and torn, that kissed the maiden all forlorn, that milked the cow with the crumpled horn, that tossed the dog that worried the cat, that killed the rat that ate the cheese that lay in the house that Jack built.
even though it's a nursery rhyme, I find the structure of that story really interesting. Wiki described this story as a cumulative tale that does not tell the story of Jack's house or even of Jack who built the house, but instead shows how the house is indirectly linked to other things and people. And through this method, tells the story of the man all tattered and torn and the maiden all forlorn, as well as other smaller events, showing how these are interlinked. When someone asks us, "So where are you from?" a common response might be a description of the house we grew up in, or a list of the neighborhoods and cities we remember from childhood. And while these answers are technically appropriate, they fail to address the underlying richness of the true story of home. Home is a roadmap through a tangled web of lives overlapping our own, which shape who we are and where we end up. Like the house that Jack built, home is cumulative and in constant evolution. When considering the home as a subject, we might ask ourselves, in my story, who would I consider the farmer sowing his corn? the man all tattered and torn? What are the tales surrounding my place of origin that paint a picture not just of my personal experience, but of a rich, full-bodied history?
Most species of hermit crab have a long soft abdomen which curls around itself into a spiral. It is much more vulnerable than the calcified abdomen seen in related crustaceans and must be protected from predators. This is why the hermit crab carries seashells and the empty shells of sea snails. Try saying that 3 times fast, in which to retract its entire body. The home, as an extension of the body, is an allegory which unfolds itself. Your flesh is your first home. We wrap our most delicate selves in blood and sinew. Our soft vulnerable parts are curled beneath layers of skin, protected from the harsh environment without. Hermit crabs with 2 small shells cannot grow as quickly as their counterparts. The body embraces vulnerability as a consequence of growth. The home must be abandoned. We require larger shells. The tender abdomen braves exposure. The heart unravels, spinning from its cave, and the vacancy of deserted sea shells, left to shifting sands, marks proof of our momentum.
In my memory, the atmosphere was pressed down with the smell of old fears and hates and guilt.
When I speak of home, I mean not only the familial constellation from which I grew, but the entire Black community, the Black press, the Black church, Black academians, the Black literati, and the Black left. Where is my reflection? I am most often rendered invisible, perceived as a threat to the family, or am tolerated if I am silent and inconspicuous. I cannot go home as who I am, and that hurts me deeply.
I ask you, brother, does your mama really know about you? Does she really know what I am? Does she know I want to love her son, care for him, nurture and celebrate him? Do you think she'll understand? I hope so, because I'm coming home. There's no place else to go that will be worth so much effort and love.
Because the truth is, you never can leave home. You take it with you everywhere you go. It's under your skin. It moves the tongue, or slows it, colors the thinking, impedes upon the logic. I was terribly hurt in this town, and vastly loved.
Anupa Maestri, a contributor at Pitchfork, had this to say about Solange's 4th studio album, When I Get Home.
Solange conjures her hometown with exceptional songcraft and production. This is an album about return. 3 years after releasing the soul-bearing opus, A Seat at the Table, Solange has ditched traditional song structure and world-weary lyrics for a sonically and thematically ambiguous record that feels freer and less burdened by the white gaze. Although Houston is the beating heart at its core, much like New Orleans pulsed through a seat, the music's spectral, free associative quality suggests that the idea of home is less rooted. Solange offers a fundamental lesson of those who leave. Home isn't something you can possess, it lives on without you. Perhaps she also understands that we can't trust our memories, and so Solange gives her music motion. We slide into this Houston of the mind on a repeated refrain that reinforces the slipperiness of recall. I saw things I imagined. Things I imagined.
Home isn't something you possess. It lives on without you. That's such a powerful sentiment. A little about me. I grew up in Indiana. I moved away right after high school and have since lived in Chicago, Atlanta, and San Diego, and explored other cities both in and out of the country. I've come full circle and am living back in Chicago after some years away, and so I recently took the opportunity to visit home since it's only a few-hour drive. I hadn't been home in 2 years, and I'm still trying to process how I feel about what I experienced. It's really easy to get into the mindset that once your own life is full of change and production, no one else's is, but that's just not true. Life goes on, and life definitely went on while I was away. I guess I thought my absence would have left a hole somewhere, but I saw no space where I could fit in anymore. I felt very detached, but it was also kind of freeing. I used to think of home as a place to escape. Like most teenagers, I had a very passionate hatred for where I came from. But after I left, I matured and realized it wasn't inherently bad. Everybody has grievances about where they're from. Mine weren't unique in any way. I was just a hermit crab that had become too large for my shell. Eventually, we all have to mature into an understanding of our origins. Rejecting parts of your unique story is so much work for absolutely no payoff. Open your eyes to the value of your genesis. You couldn't be you without who and what and where you started. Even the messiness, the boring, the mundane was all instrumental in getting you where you currently are. Even if where you are is back home, or even if you never left. Leave a comment if you have a good story about running away from home, or just tell me something about where you're from. It can be about a person, a food that's unique to your hometown, or even a smell or a particular genre of music. Like this video if you need to call your mom more often, and subscribe so I can set a reminder for you to call your mom more often. Thank you for joining me in the grass today. See you soon.